A very good evening to all of you and welcome to the news tonight. I'm Tracy Shilshi and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting the day's top stories. Let's head straight to the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses the joint press conference with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, seeks global community pressure on terror havens. Modi leaves for Canada next, visit to focus on fuel supply agreement with Canada's biggest uranium producer. Janata Parivar likely to formally merge on Wednesday. 6 political parties to unite under the banner of Mulayam Singh Yadav's leadership. Internet access for all debate gathers steam. Flipkart says no to proposed tie-up with Airtel. Congress seeks policy guidelines for TRAI on net neutrality. And 2611 mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi's release challenged in Pakistan Supreme Court. The Pakistani government says Mumbai terror attack trial may be affected. Our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today wrapped up his Germany visit. At the end of the tour, he held bilateral talks with German Chancellor Angela Merkel and then held a joint press conference in Berlin. The main focus of the talks was terrorism and ways to tackle it.
The focus of the talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and German Chancellor Angela Merkel was the menace of terrorism. After the meeting at the joint press conference, Prime Minister Modi termed terrorism as the biggest threat to humanity. He urged all nations to intensify collective efforts to tackle the menace. The Prime Minister also made a strong pitch for the conclusion of the long-pending Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism or CCIT at the UN. The objective of the CCIT is to strengthen cooperation to combat international terrorism.
जब तक हम मानवतावादी शक्तियों को एकत्र नहीं करते हैं और हम आतंकवाद के सामने समान रूप से व्यवहार नहीं करते हैं, उनको खुला मैदान मिल जाता है। उनको शस्त्र जहां से मिलते हो उस पर से रोक कैसे लगे। आतंकवादियों को शेल्टर देने वाली अगर सरकारें हैं तो उन सरकारों पर दबाव कैसे पैदा किया जाए। जितनी सेंसिटिविटी न्यूक्लियर वेपन को लेकर के हैं, उतने ही आतंकवाद को पनाह देने वाले देशों के प्रति भी होनी चाहिए। अगर ये एक मूड बनता है और हम आतंकवाद को और आतंकवाद को समर्थन करने वालों को आइसोलेट करना, ये हमारी पहली स्ट्रेटेजी होनी चाहिए और दुनिया इस पर गंभीरता से सोचेगी।
Ich plädiere dafür, dass man Sanktionen möglichst geschlossen aufhebt, aber ich sehe keinerlei Grund, dass nicht die Gespräche in dem Kreis jetzt weitergeführt werden, wie sie weitergeführt werden wurden oder wie sie geführt wurden. Das heißt P5 plus Deutschland mit dem Iran. Und diese Arbeit liegt jetzt vor uns und das ist das, worauf ich mich am meisten konzentriere.
Modi's remarks come in the backdrop of Pakistan setting free LET commander and the 2008 Mumbai attack mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. The Prime Minister also gave a push to his pet initiative Make in India and said that India had the potential to turn into a global manufacturing hub.
आज पूरे विश्व का ध्यान भारत की तरफ जा रहा है। भारत दुनिया की सबसे तेज गति से आगे बढ़ने वाली इकोनॉमी के रूप में उसने अपनी जगह बनाई है। भारत के पास 3 प्रमुख ऐसी सुविधाएं हैं जो विश्व में किसी के पास नहीं है। डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड, डेमोक्रेसी एंड डिमांड। और इन तीनों बातों को देखें तो भारत में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब बनने की पूरी संभावना है, जहां लो कॉस्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो, जीरो डिफेक्ट जीरो इफेक्ट के साथ हो और दुनिया के सभी इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए भारत एक ऐसी जगह है कि जहां पर विपुल मात्रा में वर्कफोर्स है।
Calling the bilateral discussions positive, the Prime Minister said the two countries had agreed on a roadmap for expanding the multifaceted and mutually beneficial ties. He also expressed confidence that the ties would get a further boost when Merkel visits India for the 3rd intergovernmental consultations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in the final leg of his three-nation trip, Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to Canada today. Modi will meet his Canadian counterpart Stephen Harper in Ottawa. The Prime Minister is also likely to clinch a fuel supply agreement with Canada's biggest uranium producer.
Canada will be the last leg of Prime Minister's ongoing three-nation visit. After completing his visit to Germany, the Prime Minister is set for Ottawa, where he will hold bilateral talks with the Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper in an effort to boost foreign trade and investments.
The business community sees that they can see that they can do business with India, that if they have a good product, they can go into India with 1.25 billion population consumers, they can sell their product and make money.
A key commercial deal is also likely with Canada's biggest uranium producer, Cameco Corp, to feed India's reactors. The Prime Minister had said that it's one of his major goals on the trip. Canada had banned exports of uranium and nuclear hardware to India in the 1970s. The two countries turned the page with the deal that took effect in 2013. Modi will also address the Indian diaspora in Toronto and Vancouver. The event planned in Toronto is said to be at par with Modi's reception at the Madison Square Garden last year during his US visit.
I think the community is looking for ease of arrival on India, and I don't want to preempt what governments may or may not be saying in this regard, but I think in the travel arena there is great interest. I think the sense of engagement with Canada at different levels, with the community in particular, I think is refreshing and very welcome.
There's tremendous excitement about his visit to Canada. I think he is seen as a bold and charismatic leader who has a vision for India moving forward, and people appreciate that.
The event at the Ricoh Coliseum Stadium is expected to attract a crowd of nearly 10,000 people. Preparations are in full swing for another grand show ahead of the Prime Minister's visit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So let's find out how this trip is going to be to Canada, what India and Canada both can hope to achieve from it. Professor Abdul Nafe from the Center for Canadian, US and Latin American Studies at JNU joining us in studio this evening. Hello, Professor. Give us a sense really of what we're going to be expecting once Modi lands in Ottawa. There's a 1.2 billion Indian population there, but ironically the trade between both countries just standing at about $6 billion compared to a China which is actually about $78 billion.
I think you are very right. In this very year the program is that whether the two countries can take the trade up to $15 billion. So let's hope that from $5 to $6 billion until last year, we shoot up to $15 billion this year. Equally important to me is India-Canada ties in the uranium field. Somebody was mentioning Canada is a very major producer of uranium. Equally important, I think it is the quality of uranium which is very important, which is very nice in Canada. It's a very good quality uranium.
Okay.
And not only uranium, we are also interested in nuclear hardware. So let's not forget our first nuclear power plant, Candu, was a Canadian designed one. And our indigenously built nuclear power plants have taken many of the ideas from Candu.
Yes.
So nuclear hardware is actually another very important area for mutual cooperation between the two countries. And I am very happy that agreement is on the annual with Cameco Corporation.
Yes.
In addition, yes, 1.2 billion strong diaspora. It's politically a very influential group in Canada because Indian diaspora is geographically concentrated in Vancouver and Victoria, in British Columbia, in Brampton, Mississauga in Ontario region, and some 8 to 10 parliamentary seats Indians are able to win, which does not happen, say, for example, in United States or Britain or Australia. You will always find some 8 or 10 persons of Indian origin as members of the parliament in Canada.
Yes.
And I think in September, October, Canada is going to have elections.
Yes, that's right, in the fall.
And that only speaks of the political gains Indian community has made in
fact,
Canada.
I was reading an article where, the Prime Minister of Canada himself is hoping to actually, get most out of Modi's visit and probably get the Indian community towards his side. But,
I believe so.
Yes, and talking very quickly about the trade, Professor, there's this Foreign Investment Protection Pact which negotiations were on till 2007. Everything seemed to be working fine, but it's yet to be ratified. Do we see something on that front in this trip?
It all depends in case the two countries are able to resolve this dispute settlement. In all such matters, dispute settlement mechanism is very important. Canadians would like to have an international settlement mechanism, and India has reservation on that. India would like to have something which should be bilateral and with consonance with the Indian laws. Let's hope, they make progress on it. If not now, maybe in the near future.
All right.
But I remain optimistic on that these two countries should be able to resolve this matter as well.
All right. Well, Modi is in fact going to be addressing the Indian diaspora at Toronto. So that is of course going to be the biggest reception he'll probably get in all these three countries that he's been visiting.
I believe so.
All right. All right, Professor Abdul Nafi, thank you so much for joining us, giving us a sense of really what we can expect there in Canada as far as PM Modi's trip is going to be. Not just India, but Canada as well, hoping to get something from this trip. So we'll keep an eye out here on Rajya Sabha TV for more details on that. Meanwhile, let's head back home and get to that raging debate on social media on net neutrality. Joining the chorus today was key opposition party, the Congress, who asked the government to give policy guidelines to TRAI on this issue. Meanwhile, e-commerce major Flipkart announced its decision to walk away from its proposed tie-up with Airtel, claiming that it does support the need to maintain equal internet access for all.
A day after the government announced setting up of a committee to look into the issue of net neutrality, Congress also joined the chorus in favour and asked the government to give policy guidelines to TRAI for a quick and permanent solution to this issue.
The government of India should give policy directive to TRAI, which would be binding on TRAI in public interest, to scrap this framework, regulatory framework consultation paper which is being circulated by TRAI, and support net neutrality as the Congress party is now supporting.
Meanwhile, e-commerce giant Flipkart has switched sides to support net neutrality. After drawing a lot of flack online, the company announced its decision to let go of its proposed tie-up with Airtel.
We have always unequivocally supported net neutrality and will continue to do so. We did look into zero rating concept, and on one hand we felt that being able to make free internet available to consumers could be useful, but after looking deeply we realized that it can lead down to a path where net neutrality can get compromised in future, and that's something we are not supportive of.
Free internet advocates have also pointed out the flaws of allowing service providers to float schemes which give customers access to certain mobile applications for free, with charges being borne by app makers.
एक बार पैसे इंटरनेट के लिए देते हैं और फिर जहां जाना चाहे इंटरनेट पर जाते हैं, लेकिन अगर ये प्रस्ताव पारित हो गए तब आप लिमिटेड जगह ही जा पाएंगे, किसी प्रकार की और वेबसाइट पे जाएंगे तो आपको ज्यादा पैसे देने होंगे, और मोर सिग्निफिकेंटली एक उपभोक्ता होने के नाते पर मंथ आपको तैयार होना पड़ेगा कि 150 से 450 रुपए तक प्रति माह प्रति कनेक्शन आपके पैसे बढ़ने वाले हैं.
Meanwhile, TRAI is studying the issue of net neutrality. So far, it has already got submissions from over 1 lakh netizens in support on the issue. With inputs from Ravindra Sharan and Vishal Daya, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And with that, time for a quick break here. But up next, AAP's rebel leaders rule out forming of a new party. We'll get you more details in a bit.
This special report will try and find out what the battle of supremacy in the Indian Ocean really is. Chinese threat in the Indian Ocean. India too strengthening its position in the region. Both nations jostling for control of crucial maritime routes. India back with a bang in the water body named after it. Watch our special report, Indian Ocean, Battle for Supremacy, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more national news now. The Janata Parivar will formally be born on Wednesday, with 6 political parties coming together under one banner. Mulayam Singh Yadav will lead the new dispensation at a time when parties are preparing to face the electorate in Bihar later this year and in Uttar Pradesh in 2017.
April 15th will see the dawn of a new party. The new entity could be named either Samajwadi Janata Party or Samajwadi Janata Dal with the cycle as its symbol.
मुलायम सिंह जी को ये पूरा अधिकार दे दिया है, तो ये माना जाए कि बाकी जितने दल है आपकी पार्टी समेत वो एक तरह से सैद्धांतिक रूप से इस बात को लेकर सहमत है कि विलय होना चाहिए।
मैंने कहा ना कि उनको सारी पार्टियों ने सर्वाधिकार दे दिया है कि आप पार्टी के जो विलय है उसकी सारी प्रक्रिया आप पूरी करिए।
A formal announcement of the new entity is set to be made on Wednesday after a meeting at Mulayam Singh Yadav's residence. The meeting is expected to be attended by Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, JDU Chief Sharad Yadav, its General Secretary K.C. Tyagi, JDS Chief and former Prime Minister H.D. Devegowda, RJD Chief Lalu Prasad, Samajwadi Janata Party Chief Kamal Murarka and INLD leader Dushyant Chautala, besides Mulayam Singh Yadav's brother Ram Gopal Yadav. Ahead of the announcement, the group seems confident of making an impact.
इसलिए मर्जर हो रहा कि देश बचाया जाए, इसका और दूसरा कोई मकसद नहीं।
बिहार में जब नीतीश जी लालू जी जब मिल गए हैं तो कोई फैक्टर काम नहीं करेगा। यहाँ फिर से ये दोनों मिलकर सरकार बनाएंगे, अब बीजेपी का बुढ़िया बिस्तर बंद होगा।
The process of coming together of the Janata Parivar began soon after the Lok Sabha polls when the Narendra Modi-led BJP decimated JDU and RJD in Bihar, Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh and marginalized the INLD in Haryana. They tested waters last year by fighting the assembly by-polls in Bihar in August, winning 6 out of the 10 seats at stake, indicating the potential of the combine. The merger ahead of the November assembly polls in Bihar is seen as significant given that there is new hope among opposition parties in wake of the BJP's defeat in Delhi. While assembly elections are due in Bihar this year end, Samajwadi Party ruled Uttar Pradesh goes to polls in 2017. With inputs from Pranav Goswami, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Janata Parivar merger is sure to prove a headache for the BJP, though Amit Shah claimed otherwise. The BJP President and Home Minister Rajnath Singh launched their party's campaign for Bihar elections at a rally in Patna's Gandhi Maidan today. Addressing BJP workers, both leaders exuded confidence that the BJP will be able to win the elections. The function was, however, marred by controversies. BJP MP Shatrughan Sinha, a prominent party face in the state, was seen missing at the event. BJP and its allies backed 32 of Bihar's 40 seats in the national elections last year when Bihar's political heavyweights like Nitish Kumar and Lalu Prasad fought separately.
आज का एक कार्यकर्ता समागम अम्बेडकर जयंती के दिन पर हो रहा है और जिसने भी जरा सी भी समझ है वो एक कार्यकर्ता समागम देखकर समझ जाएगा कि बिहार में अगली सरकार भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बनने जा रही है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी हो सकता है इस देश की सबसे बड़ी राजनीतिक पार्टी के रूप में संसद में आ जाए, लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी को संसद में कभी पूर्ण बहुमत नहीं हासिल हो सकता है। लेकिन उसकी भी शुरुआत यदि कहीं से हुई है तो इस बिहार की धरती से हुई है, मेरे बहनों भाइयों।
Meanwhile, in the capital, rebel leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party held a day-long meeting in Gurgaon today, quashing rumours of the formation of a new party. The rebels claim they will launch a non-political Swaraj Abhiyan, which will focus on social issues. Over 3,000 party volunteers and workers were present at the rebel convention, defying a party diktat, and that also included party MLA Pankaj Pushkar. The party is now contemplating action against him.
Aam Aadmi Party dissidents holding their Swaraj Samvad in Gurgaon on Tuesday. The day-long event ended with rebel leaders Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan deciding to form a separate non-political group called the Swaraj Abhiyan, which is intended to work for alternative politics while staying within the Aam Aadmi Party fold.
ये स्वराज अभियान 4 तरह के काम करेगा। जनता के मुद्दों को लेके आंदोलन करेगा, देश भर में स्वराज संवाद आयोजित करेगा, देश का भविष्य का नक्शा कैसा हो उसका एक नीति वक्तव्य बनाएगा और कार्यकर्ताओं को प्रशिक्षित करेगा।
स्वराज के माध्यम से पूरे देश में सारे अपने कार्यकर्ताओं के थ्रू एक संवाद, एक पूरा डिस्कशन, डिबेट छेड़ना चाहिए और जिसके आधार पर उसके सॉल्यूशंस हम लोगों को खुद ढूंढने चाहिए और उन सॉल्यूशंस के ऊपर हमको अभियान चलाने चाहिए, आंदोलन चलाने चाहिए, पूरी मुहिम छेड़नी चाहिए।
The fact that 70% volunteers and party workers voted in favour of staying within the Aam Aadmi Party seemed to have weighed against forming a new political party, which was widely expected before the meet.
स्वराज संवाद की जरूरत देश भर को है। यह सम्मेलन एक शुरुआत है।
The day-long convention in Gurgaon was attended by over 3,000 party workers. One of the notable presents was that of Aam Aadmi Party MLA Pankaj Pushkar, especially in the light of warnings by the Aam Aadmi Party leadership of strict action being taken against participating at the rebel convention.
जब पार्टी की आधिकारिक मीटिंग नहीं है तो कोई भी आदमी जो इस मीटिंग में जाता है वो अपनी जिम्मेदारी पर जाए।
The meeting comes days after both Yadav and Bhushan were removed from all important party posts. With input from Anu Devan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Taking note of the widespread damage caused by unseasonal rains and hailstorm in Uttar Pradesh, the state government has declared a calamity. It is also taking action on reports of insignificant sums being doled out to farmers in distress. But farmers are complaining that the action is too little and very late in reaching them.
Spread over 55 districts, the crop damage has forced Uttar Pradesh government to declare it as a calamity. On Tuesday, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav wrote to the Prime Minister requesting 100 crore rupees as relief for farmers. He also announced 6 lakh rupees from the Chief Minister's fund for each farmer who had an unnatural death. The government has cancelled leave for all divisional commissioners, district magistrates and others involved in relief work. The opposition has also called for a more humane approach by the government.
आगरा से जो मिले समाचार हैं उससे साबित होता है कि कितना नुकसान किसानों का हुआ है। लगभग 39% मेंटल केसेस में बढ़ोतरी हुई है, हार्ट अटैक हुए हैं, आत्महत्याएं बढ़ी।
और बड़ी शर्म की बात है कि उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार कह रही है कि सामान्य मौतें हुई हैं, वो सुसाइड नहीं है, फसल का नुकसान की वजह से ये ऐसा नहीं है। तो इस सरकार को एक तो किसानों के प्रति संवेदनशील होने की आवश्यकता है और पूरे मामले को सही परिप्रेक्ष्य में देखने की आवश्यकता है।
Across the country, dozens of farmers committed suicides in recent weeks, disheartened by the meager amounts of relief reaching them. All this despite the state government's claims that it has released compensation for them.
किसानों के साथ मजाक हुआ है और किसानों को जितना किसान भीख देता है, भीख के बराबर भी सरकार ने किसानों को भिखारी से भी बेहतर किसानों को समझाया, जबकि किसान सबका पेट भरता है।
With the central government reducing the relief criteria for crop damage from 50% to 33%, more farmers are now eligible for the compensation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some quick updates from across the country and nationwide. ICICI Bank has slashed its lending rate by 0.25% effective from 14 April following rate cuts earlier done by competitor banks SBI and HDFC. The rate cut is applicable to both existing as well as new borrowers. For women applicants now, the home loan rate stands at 9.85%, while for others it is 9.9%. The 7 Jawans killed in an ambush by Naxals on Saturday in Sukma district were given the Guard of Honour today in Jagdalpur in Chhattisgarh. The centre has decided to confer gallantry awards to the martyrs while their families would be given compensation. The bodies were recovered from the ambush site 24 hours after the attack. Congress legislator Rumi Nath was arrested today for her alleged nexus with a pan-India car theft racket. During investigations, it was found that the alleged car theft gang leader was issued Assam Assembly car passes on the recommendation of the MLA. Earlier, the Guwahati High Court had rejected her 2 anticipatory bail applications in connection with a case registered at the Dispur police station. International news. In Pakistan's Punjab government has challenged the release of 2611 mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi in the Pakistan Supreme Court. Lakhvi was released from detention by the Lahore High Court last week. In a petition, the Punjab government said that Lakhvi's release has created problems for it. The government has also pleaded that the Lahore High Court has suspended Lakhvi's detention despite seeing the sensitive documents against him. The government also argued that investigation into Mumbai attack case may also be affected because of Lakhvi's release. The Pakistan Supreme Court will fix a date of hearing. Lakhvi was released from detention on the 10th of April from a Rawalpindi jail. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has stepped up security at its border with Yemen as fighting continues in the region. Iran, which has offered to assist in the political transition in Yemen, today laid out a peace plan. Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has urged a halt in airstrikes and called for dialogue within Yemen. Zarif proposed a ceasefire, humanitarian assistance, an intra-Yemeni dialogue and a broad-based government to end the conflict. But Saudi Arabia has dismissed the offers. The coalition kept up its airstrike campaign against Houthi militants.
We believe that aerial bombardments are simply not the answer. It's not a negotiation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Iran and Saudi Arabia need to talk. But we cannot talk to determine the future of Yemen. This is an intra-Yemeni dialogue. Yemenis have to speak to themselves. Everybody else has to facilitate.
And with that, let's get you some more international news in Global Buzz. Iran has warned that sanctions must be lifted in the first stage of the nuclear deal with world powers. The country's foreign minister told a press briefing in Spain that no good agreement can be achieved with the threat of sanctions hanging over Iran. A framework nuclear deal struck with Britain, China, France, Germany, Russia and the US seeks to limit the Iranian nuclear program in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. The final deal is due by the 30th of June. The US released fresh aerial video footage of airstrikes against areas controlled by Islamic State's militants in Syria and Iraq. US planes hit Islamic State fighting positions near Kobani and Raqqa and destroyed a vehicle near Mosul and Tal Afar areas in Iraq. Government troops and pro-Russian rebels continued overnight fighting in East Ukraine despite renewed diplomatic efforts to enforce a truce. On Monday, Ukraine, Russia, Germany and France called for withdrawal of more weapons from the Eastern Front. All four nations expressed grave concern over the surge in fighting. A court in Washington, D.C. sentenced a former Blackwater security guard to life imprisonment for the massacre of 14 unarmed Iraqi civilians in Baghdad in 2007. 3 others got life term in the case that sparked outrage among Iraqi citizens. And changing tracks now, let's get you all the sports news in Sportsbeat. The Indian hockey team today arrived in New Delhi after winning a bronze at the Sultan Azlan Shah Cup at Ipoh in Malaysia. Hockey team captain Sardara Singh said that the performance showed that the team could beat the world's best. India finished third, beating Korea 4-1 in the penalty shootout after both teams were locked at 2-2 at regulation time in the 24th edition of the tournament. Former South African pacer Alan Donald has stepped down as bowling coach of South Africa cricket team. Donald was appointed in June 2011 as part of Gary Kirsten's management team and continued in the role under the current coach Russell Domingo from August 2013. The Proteas hope to line up a replacement by the time they tour Bangladesh for 2 tests and an ODI series in July. Liverpool kept their hopes of Champions League football alive with a comfortable 2-0 victory against Newcastle. Striker Raheem Sterling scored his 11th club goal of the season as he gave Liverpool an early advantage with a clinical finish past Tim Krul in the 9th minute. Joe Allen doubled the lead in the 70th minute to put his side in a strong position. Liverpool have moved to the 5th spot now in the league table, just 4 points behind 4th place Manchester City. And that's all we could pack in on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night.
Thank you.